Debugging and testing feature flags and experiments is easy and maybe even a little fun with our totally revamped DevTools. In this video, I'll show you how to install the DevTools and use them so you can spend less time tinkering and more time shipping. GrowthBook DevTools is available as a browser extension. It's available for Chrome, Chromium-based browsers, as well as recently released Firefox. So I'm here on Chrome, and to install, you just go to the Chrome Web Store, find the extension, and click Add to Chrome. We'll have a link in the description below, of course. So I add it here. You can see that the extension has been added. And what you want to do is pin it. This will make it easier to use. So now when I come over to my site where GrowthBook is active and I refresh, you can see already that there is a small green dot showing that the connection is active. In order for that to happen, one thing to note is I'm going to jump on over here to my code base, is that you need to set this property on the SDK. So enable dev mode needs to be set to true. If you're using the HTML script tag, this will already be enabled for you. But if you're using JavaScript or React or something similar, make sure that the enable dev mode is set to true. Once installed, there are two ways to access the DevTools. So first, you have a kind of quick access where you can just click on the icon, and this brings up the DevTools and gives you access to everything you need. Alternatively, you can access the GrowthBook DevTools from a panel within the Chrome DevTools. So to do that, to open up your DevTools, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut here, but you can also access it from the overflow menu, which is clicking the three dots, more tools, developer tools. That just closed it. I'll open it up again, developer tools, and then click on this kind of double chevron here, and you'll see that there's a GrowthBook menu now, or GrowthBook panel now available, and click that. And here I get the same setup, and you can see because I've set dark mode for my default for the DevTools, that it's also using dark mode here. All right, so with the GrowthBook DevTools, one of the premier features is the ability to see your feature flags that are either on the page or in the code, and just get a lot of detail of what's going on. So all of the feature flags that are associated with this app are shown here, and there's a couple things to see or notice right away. So for some of them, you'll see that there's a small experiment icon or a Flask icon. That shows you that there's an experiment associated with this feature flag. And then on the right here is all the values that are being served for that feature flag. So here there's this text that we see on the page that's being shown. False is being shown for show reviews, so on and so forth. And then we also get this little kind of stopwatch icon, which indicates that this feature flag is being used in code, but it's not in the SDK payload. So you can see if maybe something's going on there. Now, for any of these flags, we can click on them to bring up additional details, which is really handy. And so again, it'll show you your current value, and then really nicely, it'll show you why that is that value, which helps you, of course, to debug and figure out what's going on if the result is unexpected. So for us here with this headline CTA rule, we can see that we're in an experiment. So it's serving two different variations, and that's why this feature flag is evaluated as it is. What is cool here is that we can actually change the variation, and we'll see how to do that in a second. But we get a bunch more information here in case you need to get even deeper in the weeds. Under the Experiments tab, you can see all the details about the experiments and A/B tests that are active on the page. So here I am on button color. You can see that this flag icon indicates that it's being implemented via a feature flag. It could also be implemented via a visual editor experiment or a URL redirect. And then on this detail panel here, we can see that the current variation is variation 1. I can override that from within this panel by clicking on Control. And so you see that this button color down here is changing when I click on this, and it tells me with the orange color that an override is active. I can click Clear Override to clear it. I see the value that is being served for this experiment, and then lots of other details. The Attributes tab shows you which attributes are active for the current user on the page. So I can see that my user type is user. This could be something else like admin, for instance, and I have my ID here. All of these attributes that are on the page are editable. So if I go in here and put in a new ID, you can see that it updates instantly. And because I changed my ID, the experiment assignment also changed. So now I'm in the variation rather than in the control. Again, like with the other tabs, I can click Clear Overrides to reset everything back to the defaults. I am also able to add new fields in case I wanted to test out other attributes. So this Attributes tab gives you lots of different data about the current user, but also ways to override and test different values. I'm now on the SDK tab. The SDK tab gives you lots of great info about your SDK connection in the app. And if something's not going right, it's probably the place that you should look first. The first property, status, pretty self-explanatory, but it tells you whether the SDK is connected to your app. So if this is not green or if something's not connected, this will give you more information on troubleshooting steps you can take and where else to get help. But right now I know that it's connected and it gives me my client key so you can know which SDK you're using in case you're using multiple ones. This will help. And it also tells you my host URL, so you can make sure that that is right. If you're using our cloud service, it will be the cdn.growthbook.io. It also tells you which version of the SDK you're using, so you can see if you're on the most recent version or not. The tracking callback is an essential piece of the puzzle. So here we know that the tracking callback has been found. And what the tracking callback does is that's how your experiment exposure data gets sent to your data warehouse. So it can be implemented in lots of different ways. Google Analytics 4 or GTM are very common ways to do this, but it needs to be set up in the app. And so this tells you that that is in fact there. If it weren't, it would give you some more instructions on how to do that. And then you get additional info about your SDK, like for instance, whether payload security is enabled. Right now I'm just using plain text, but this could be encrypted. You could be using sticky bucketing, streaming. You could look at the actual entire SDK payload in case you really need to get into the weeds. And then it'll also tell you whether the log event callback and on-feature usage callback are set up and working. So you get a lot of nice info about your SDK connection, and it's a great tool for debugging that if any issues were to arise. All right, it's time for some bonus advanced features with our DevTools. All right, I'm going to open DevTools, and by default, the DevTools will be in the color mode that your system's in. So if your system's in light mode, it'll be in light mode. If it's in dark mode, it'll be in dark mode. But you can click this toggle here to override that. So this sets it to light mode all the time. This sets it to dark mode all the time for those times when you're up at night debugging feature flags. So let's set it back to the system default, and let's see what other kind of stuff we can get up to. So you see that there is this cog here that has a little red marker showing me that I can do something. And so what I can do is add a access token. And what that will do is enable some advanced functionality. So I'm on GrowthBook Cloud, so I have that toggled. Otherwise, I could uncheck this and add in my API host and origin URLs. I'm going to keep that checked. And I need to add this access token. And so there's a link here that I can click. And this will open up GrowthBook and go right to the personal access token. So this is not something that should be shared publicly, but I'm going to reveal this token here and copy it. and come back over to my settings and paste that in, save it. And so you can see now that that red dot went away, and I have now enabled API access for the DevTools. One of the things this enables is archetypes, which are kind of like a model user that you want to test in the app. And so I can click now Manage Archetypes. So I have this beta users here for under my archetypes, and you can see that I have some properties associated with it. So the device type needs to be mobile, the country needs to be AR, the UTM campaign needs to be paid marketing 1, beta needs to be false. This, of course, doesn't really make sense, but it's for the purpose of an example. So when I come back now to my app and click on the DevTools and open up the current user, you can see that beta users as an archetype as possible. So if I click on this then, and I come to attributes, the archetype will be applied. So now the country has been set to AR, the device type has been changed to mobile, the UTM campaign has been changed to paid marketing 1. So what you can imagine here is just a very powerful way where you can set up, certain cohorts or groups of users or whatever kind of different things you want to test, and then instantly sync those in from GrowthBook so that you can test them on the site. So how is this going to look to a beta user? How is this going to look to a user in the EU? How is this going to look to a user who is kind of first-time visitor, has never made a purchase, or whatever kind of attributes that you want to test? It's a really nice advanced feature. All right, that's it, y'all. You're now experts in the GrowthBook DevTools, and you're ready to debug and test feature flags and A/B experiments like a pro. If you have any more questions, check out the documentation linked below, as well as come and visit us in our Slack community where we chat about experimentation, A/B testing, and how to test and debug them. It's been fun. See you in the next one.